This is the most important election of my lifetime. I said that when I was RNC chairman in 2004, and I meant it then too. The issues then were national security, and it was an incredibly important election. But the fact is today our country stands at a crossroads. And down one path is this administration with all the Democratic control of Congress that they have now, big margins in both the House and the Senate. And that path leads to some really bad outcomes for our great country. That's a path that leads to diminished purchasing power for the U.S. dollar and stagnant economy because of punitive taxes on small business owners and investment and government limits on our energy production. It's a path that means we'll be spending more on health care than ever before, but waiting months for services that we get now in days. The long-standing consensus that taxpayers should not be forced to subsidize procedures they find morally reprehensible will be shattered. And in the name of fairness, half of all Americans won't be paying any income taxes, and the other half will be paying all the income taxes. And that is a recipe for Katie bar the door when it comes to federal spending. There'll be a lot more federal employees, and they will be earning, as they are now for the first time in our nation's history, federal employees will be earning more on average than the private sector employees on average who are paying their salary and their benefits. And those government employees will be running our health care, our auto companies, our big banks, the energy sector, the internet, and student loans. And if we don't do all we can in this election to elect more Republicans to the House and the Senate, the foreign policy path that they will take will lead to Iran as the dominant force in the Middle East and Israel besieged by its neighbors. Hugo Chavez's Venezuela will dominate South America, and China will be dominating our economy and the global economy. It's a path where terrorists released from Guantanamo will likely have killed more Americans overseas, and those who have been captured under this Justice Department will be using our U.S. courts as a platform for their propaganda with the help of taxpayer-provided attorneys. But there's another path, and the other path is our path, and it's a brighter path. It's a path of fiscal discipline, lower taxes, less burdensome regulations, and respect for the values that made our country great. It's a path of a country that rewards hard work and innovation, that's an engine of economic growth and opportunity, that honors and respects differences among its people, but is never afraid to stand up for what's ideal in our society. It's America as a beacon of freedom and source of stability in the world, whose citizens are safer from danger because of its strong military and vigilant homeland security, and where every generation leaves a more prosperous America for the generations that come after. So every day between now and November, we need to remind our family, our friends, our coworkers, and our neighbors about the stakes of this election. And if this president and the Democratic Congress are allowed to go 2 more years unchecked, it's going to be hard to undo the damage they'll do to our economy, our culture, our national security, and our homeland security. So we need to tell our friends, 10 years from now, if someone's asked, what did you do in the election of 2010? Did you knock on doors? Did you volunteer for a candidate? Did you forward emails filled with facts? And if the answer is no, the fact is people will be just as responsible for the state of our country at that time as Harry Reid or Nancy Pelosi or Barack Obama. Now I know that won't be the answer of the people here in this room. And I know that many of your family and coworkers that you're going to talk to and encourage them to get involved are going to think, well, why bother? Can't possibly make a difference with all that money coming in from the labor unions and all the rhetoric coming out of the White House and all of the noise and the special interest groups. One person can't make a difference. But we here in this room know that that's not the case. We can, we must make a difference. So if you hear that, tell them the story of the starfish on the beach. How many people here know the story of the starfish on the beach? Okay, there's enough who don't that I'm going to tell it anyway. The couple walking along the beach one night, and the moon is shining down, and there are starfish glistening on the sand that had washed up in the tide, and when the tide receded, they were stranded on the beach. And as they're walking along, the woman bends down and picks up a starfish and throws it back into the ocean. And then she takes a few steps, she picks up another one, and throws it back into the waves, and she does this as they walk along. And finally, her husband says, honey, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. This beach is covered with starfish. You can't possibly make a difference. At which point she bent down and picked up a starfish and threw it back into the ocean and turned to him and said, made a difference to that one. And so we can make a difference. And we have to make a difference. And we know in this room, and I am here to thank you because you do make a difference. And the fact is that every envelope you stuff, every phone you call, every email you forward makes a difference. Every door that you knock, every neighborhood you walk, every dollar you donate makes a difference. Every hour you volunteer, every prayer you offer, every yard sign you put up, and every bumper sticker you stick makes a difference. And in this critical election year, we need to do all we can to help elect Republicans up and down the ticket. And in this state, playing such a critical role, it's going to make a difference. We need to elect more Republicans to the State House, to the State Senate, to the U.S. House, to the U.S. Senate, to governorships, and all around the country. If we do that, we can make a difference. And I came here to thank you for all that you're doing, to ask you to keep doing it for 6 more months, to get other people to get involved, to keep doing it for 6 more months, and to say that after we're done, I'd be glad to come back with you and celebrate a hard-earned victory come November. Thank you very much. God bless you.